Yep, got you. All right, we are recording. Welcome back to the Jack and Jer podcast. Jer, that's Jack. I think this is episode 7. So if you've listened to more than one episode, thank you. That's awesome. If you've commented, even better. If you've subscribed, even better. So keep that up. If you haven't, please do it. It's very helpful for us. So this week I made more money than I make from my salary for teaching. And then I lost more money than I made from my salary from teaching. Can you guess what I made my money on and lost my money on, Jack?
It has to be cryptos.
Has to be cryptos. It is crypto. So the last week or last 2 weeks have been pretty awesome as far as just like looking at your account and seeing how much money you have. But I do get a little bit turned off during times like this because I originally got involved in crypto about 6 years ago, 2015. I originally got involved to buy illegal stuff on the internet, which is what everyone just thinks that crypto is. That's definitely a big onboarding and how people like learned about it back in the day, but it's definitely not why I'm involved now. I got my feet way more wet in 2017, one of like the first big crazes. But I'm kind of just a believer in the fundamentals of it. Deflationary income, we're printing so much money. So really, like, I've been converting and transferring a lot of my money into crypto. The price going up definitely is good, but I usually don't get as excited by that. I like more utility. I like seeing Bitcoin accepted at different retailers, different people paying salaries in crypto. I like things like that. The price for me is more secondary. It's definitely nice to see your net worth go up, but I'm more like into just like the idea of it. What are your thoughts on Bitcoin or crypto in general?
So I originally got actually interested in it because I had to send money abroad and I had to use the Swift international wire transfer system.
Ah,
And that shit sucks. It basically hasn't been updated in like 80 years.
takes like 3 days, right?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And I was like talking to the bank teller, being like, "Where's the money? Like, why isn't it going through? Yada yada." And the person just like had their hands up, and I was like, "This doesn't make sense." And from there, I learned about XRP, which I'm not bullish on right now, but at the time I was.
When
So
was this?
this was 2016.
I love that you make it clear that you're not bullish on XRP. That's like an important thing in crypto, I feel.
So I learned about it from like a specific use case, like actually having to send money abroad and how long it takes and the ridiculous amount of fees that it was. It was like $30 to send like a couple $100. So
Could you explain what XRP is real quick, just in case some people don't know?
XRP isn't, I'm not the most knowledgeable on it right now, but XRP is the token for Ripple or Ripple Labs. It is a digitized token that is designed to replace the SWIFT banking system, the international transfer banking system. It's supposed to be a denomination that banks can send each other to more easily and readily transfer funds across borders. I'm very hesitant to say more than that without
That's perfect. I think one just big thing I think just to include is a big reason people don't like XRP Ripple is because it's kind of centralized. You kind of know the whole team. And people who are in crypto, a lot of them like decentralized, and XRP doesn't really fit that model. Just something important, I think, to add.
Yeah, so that was the first way I really started getting interested. And then I've been fortunate enough where I've been exposed to a lot of foreign countries and their currencies and the way their business climates work and things like that. And what really started getting me more interested was in the US, we have a very spoiled approach to like our monetary system, to like the value of our dollars. For the most part, it has been relatively stable. In other countries, it's not like that.
Mm.
Outside of maybe like a half a dozen different currencies, like the euro, I guess the pound sterling, so the UK's denomination, Japanese yen, Chinese yuan, which a lot of asterisks on that, whether or not it actually is, fluctuating or it's being propped up. But outside some major currencies, like other countries, like their currencies are not stable. So like when I was in Mexico and COVID hit, the value of a peso literally overnight dropped by more than 30%.
Wow.
So I was starting to
That's
go ahead.
compared to the dollar. You still could buy the same thing that cost 10 pesos for 10 pesos, right?
Yes, but with time, I don't want to call it inflation, but the prices would like increase
Right.
if it maintained. Um, and then so what I'm getting at is, we hear of Bitcoin and Ethereum, these cryptocurrencies, oh, they're not stable, they're too volatile, blah, 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 blah. And we completely forget that the rest of the world, that their currency that they use is as volatile as Bitcoin as these things. So that's what really started hooking me onto this was I started looking into like how unstable the world's currencies are outside the US and Europe and some major countries. And I started reading some books and doing some articles. I started learning about like the technical analysis of Bitcoin, which I understand on a high level, but not like really like not enough to like code or do anything like that. And I basically became hooked on it. And the reason like I was hooked is I never understood the quantitative easing that the US went into after the Great Recession in 2008, 2009. When we finalized this stimulus package, which should be soon right now, this COVID relief package, we will have printed, or excuse me, created 40% of all US dollars in the past 12 months.
Mhm.
Like basic economics 101, like we should be experiencing hyperinflation between that and all the quantitative easings. And the quantitative easing is basically a fancy term for the Federal Reserve was just printing money and in a not so nice way, like handing it to their friends to use to stimulate the economy. And so I just never understood after 2008, 2009, and then, in the mid 2010s, 2014, 15, why we weren't experiencing like severe inflation. It just never made sense to me. And then I learned about Bitcoin and things like that. So those were really the three things that got me interested in it. That there, for XRP at least, there was a use case. For the rest of the world, their currencies aren't stable. And then third, our currency in a matter of time is not going to become stable. And so there needs to be a more stable store of value. And then again, I did a bunch of research on this. If this is something that's interested into you and like you're interested in like investing or doing whatever, none of this is investment advice. The first rule of investing is like, do your homework, do your research. Like I'm super bullish on all of this, like way over invested, over indexed, but I would never tell anyone to put money into something that they haven't spent the time to understand. But so that's like a little bit of backstory of how I got involved and just like, yeah.
Yeah, I like it. So, just a couple questions about that. Was your first purchase XRP?
Yeah, my first purchase was XRP.
Damn, nice. And then, I guess like how, not in, yeah, I guess a little bit like how involved are you these days? Do you buy, consistently, like weekly, monthly? Do you, try and get other people to onboard and like get involved? Do you talk about it, or are you kind of just like waiting? You think it's eventually going to come, and you're just slowly prepping yourself for it?
So something that I didn't do that now I would do is called dollar cost average investing.
Yes, sir.
Dollar cost average investing is the idea that instead of investing 100% of your funds at one individual time, you break it up to, let's say you want to have everything in the market in 6 months. You break it up into 12 investments. So once every 15 days. So, and then once every 15 days, you don't look at the market, you don't look at what the prices are, anything like that. You just press send. And there are companies and software out there that'll automate this for you. And the basic idea is even though you're doing it over time and the market will fluctuate, sometimes you'll buy in and it'll be higher, sometimes you'll buy in when it's lower. You're hedging your bets. You're hedging against putting all of it in on a high day or all of it in on a low day, because it's really hard to predict the highs and lows. And it basically allows you to get the average, to average out your investment amount. And it is the smartest way to invest. And like, to be frank, like no one can really with absolute certainty predict the top and the bottom. So don't like pat yourself on the shoulder being like, oh, like I got $1,000, I'm gonna throw it all in now. Like, even if it is just a couple $100, put $50 in today, $50 in tomorrow, $50 at the day after that. Like, it will help hedge your bets. So that's what I would really encourage. I didn't do it as much because I wasn't as familiar with it, but I basically have been steadily buying since 2016, 2017. So I bought some when things were taken off in 2017, but then I kept buying more and more over the past couple of years. So it actually lowered my overall investment amount, or cost of investing.
Right. And then something I feel like important to or to just know, I guess, is similar to like dollar cost averaging is definitely the smartest like strategy to use, is trading as like tempting as it is usually not a good circumstance for most people. A lot of emotion goes into trading, unfortunately. A lot of times the news is manipulating things a little bit, or people are manipulating the news for whatever reason. And most of the time, if you just buy by dollar cost averaging and hold for a long period of time, you'll make more money than if you try and buy at the lows and sell at the highs. Sometimes you will be a little bit lucky and you can like act upon it. Last week, not according to the IRS, we're talking about fake money, but I sold about 30% of my position in Bitcoin. And right now I can buy back quite a bit more. Kind of worked perfectly, but that doesn't always happen. I usually take the dollar cost average strategy, but I also like to realize profits. I'm a big proponent of realizing profits. And basically, when I 2x my investment is usually when I'll start taking money out. A lot of the time, the goal is to try and take out my initial investment so that the rest of it is just a free ride. I actually have a few clients that I like manage their crypto for because they just aren't comfortable with it, whatever. And I kind of am not comfortable managing other people's money too much. I feel like I owe it to them if I lose it, even though they know like that there's risk involved. So typically what I tell my clients though is once I double your money, I'm giving it back. And then the rest of it is a free ride for you. And then like, I won't feel as bad if I fuck up and lose it. So I doubled up my clients' money. I sold and gave them their investment back, or I'm giving them their investment back. And I did it for me as well. So I got some cash on hand and then can buy back in lower. But again, that's like only to do if it like happens. I wasn't necessarily planning on that. But a few things kind of were like brewing, and the situation looked like it was going to work out, and it ended up doing that. But like you said, or you kind of alluded to, is like dollar cost averaging is the best way to get involved, and like just holding it for the long term. So just a little other like tidbit. I've been trying to get more involved in crypto since I started really getting into it in 2016. Last year, I think it's 2 years ago at this point, I sold a home of mine. And my whole goal was sell my home. Let's say I got 100 grand from selling the home. Bitcoin was at like 5K. And I was like, I know Bitcoin will eventually at least hit the all-time high. If I put all of my money into crypto, my 100K will eventually turn into 400K. I didn't follow my plan. I let too much emotion go in, and when it goes down or when it goes up, you sell a little, whatever. But Bitcoin's at like 50K right now. If I followed my plan, I would have been at 1 million. So that's just another like tidbit I recommend to people, and I actually recommended this to a friend last year. When you have a goal and when you have a plan, write it down and stick with it. My friend's goal or plan was to sell half his position at 60K. And when Bitcoin hit 50K, he kind of was like, oh, I don't know. It looks like it's going to go higher and higher. I don't want to sell it. And I told him, like, if your plan was to sell at 60, sell some at 60. Like, follow your plan, because you usually make the plan during a rational time of thinking. And usually emotion is playing into it when it's actually occurring, and you don't make as good of a decision. Have you ever had any like instances like that?
So I got really close to selling at 50 a while back when it hit 50. My number's always been 100K. I think Bitcoin's going to hit 100K in the next few months, if not this year.
I agree.
I think Ethereum's going to hit 5 to 10K this year.
I agree.
Um, my other thing is this is a super long game for me. I think that this is literally the future. I genuinely believe there's going to be a time in our lifetimes where you don't buy Bitcoin to sell it at a later price. You buy it to have and use Bitcoin. It's going to
Right.
be a foundational force in your wealth. So the reason I bring that up is I have really high numbers for me to start taking profits, because for me, the pain of selling at 50 and seeing it go to 100, even though I wouldn't sell all of it, it would just be some, is way worse than me holding it and then it dropping down to 20 and then me having to wait another 6 months, year to get it back up there. So here's a couple of rules that I use to invest in cryptocurrencies. First, every dollar I put in, I assume is lost. I assume I will never see that money again ever. It's now monopoly money. It's gone. So that's the first thing. Second, uh, it's all extremely long term. I put it in with no expectation of actually pulling out from my position for years. Like literally, probably like right now is a little different because of just like my situation, but like I wouldn't seriously dip into my cryptos for probably like at least another 5 years, another like bull run or two after this one, which I think is just getting started. And then the third thing is Jeremy's completely right about like setting targets and taking profits. Like I learned the hard way in 2017, where I didn't take profits and I saw my portfolio up like 4x and then go down to, it was down 50% or something. But pick a number, and then when it hits that number, take out a certain percent, 5%, 10%, your initial investment, 2x your initial investment, whatever it is, like actually take it out. And then what you have left over is like what this one woman on TikTok calls your moon bag. Like if it goes to the moon, it's free money. But like you will, if you are not super knowledgeable about this space, you are going to, every time it dips, freak out. I have like a few friends that text me every day, like, what the fuck is going on with Bitcoin? Why is it down 15%? Blah, blah, blah.
I got those friends. What's up, Lenny? How you doing?
Yeah. And then the same friends being like, dude, it's going to the moon. And
Yeah.
then they're like, should I buy? Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not telling anyone to buy or whatnot. I'm telling you, I literally think Bitcoin could hit 250K this year. And
Yep.
it's at 50K.
Yep.
So I keep telling this to the people that message me, and they're like, should I buy? And I'm like, you tell me. Like, this is what I think. Like, if you thought the same way I would think, would you buy more if you could? So like, keep it that way. But guys, there are really easy resources you can do to get familiar. You can watch YouTube channels. The one place that I got started is this Taylor Pearson blog post. It's called the top 10 cryptocurrency resources for non-technical people. It has a bunch of links to a podcast, books, Bitcoin's white paper, a few other blogs and things like that. Start educating yourself. When I talk to people about cryptocurrencies, especially like Bitcoin and Ethereum, I really feel like I am talking. I feel the way that people must have felt when they were talking about the internet in the early 1990s.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of people and your parents and whoever else don't get it. They think it's a fad. And then my favorite is like, they're like, well, I like blockchain. Blockchain's cool. And I'm like, yeah, blockchain's cool, but like you're missing a whole other layer to it if you're not taking into consideration Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and things like that. So like educate yourself on it. Like this is not going to go away. This is something that like in 10 years, there are going to be people that have become multimillionaires from like investing in it. And you owe it to your, like the same way that like anytime a new social media platform comes out or there's a new website, there's a new form of technology, like this is just a new form of technology. Like you owe it to yourself to start learning about it, because now there are things called NFTs. Does any do you, non-fungible tokens?
I'm big on NFTs. I'm trying to get very involved in those. I've been talking a lot about them the last couple of days. So
Yeah.
definitely a fan.
And NFTs are a byproduct of the blockchain. An NFT, in a really short recap, is a NFT stands for non-fungible token. Basically, think of it as digital art. It could be a sports card, it could be an actual piece of like art. It could even be like someone's piece of music or something like that. And it's on the blockchain, which, if you're not familiar with the blockchain, think of it as like a public record that is impossible to hack. It prevents duplication, because it had, like, let's say I created something and then I gave it to Jeremy and Jeremy gave it to someone else. On the blockchain, it's going to say each one of those transactions. So it's impossible to really hack for more complicated reasons than we're going to get into. But if someone tried to duplicate it, it wouldn't have the right blockchain. The system would know and would basically lock them out. But what NFTs do is it's going to be this amazing opportunity where everything from sports players to musicians to artists, they can begin to create their art, put it in a digital form, sell it or release it into the market, and then still be able to take advantage of like secondary sales and things like that. And let me explain why that's important.
Wait, can I explain the secondary sales real quick in case people
Yeah,
don't know?
please go ahead.
So a cool thing I like with those secondary sales is, let's say I made a picture, and a lot of times artists sell things, and then 10 years later that art sells for way more, and the artist didn't get anything for it more than their first sale for, let's say, $100. With NFTs, you can program it in so that I sell it to Jack for $10, and every time it resells, I can get 10%, let's say, whatever I choose. So if it resells again in 10 years for $1 million, I'm not losing out. I'm still getting a share of that, and my work I'm getting paid for in perpetuity, which is a nice thing for artists, I think. But continue on, my bad.
Yeah. And so it can be everything from that to like a painter or someone else actually being able to get paid for their work. So it can be a whole ecosystem to help support like artists that otherwise are struggling, that are like selling a one-off canvas, and then like all of a sudden 15 years later their art becomes really popular, and like God forbid something happens to them, or whatever, like they were never able to really get value from what they created in the world, which is significant. And so it can get more into the weeds of that, but just think of it as a piece of digital art where it's always going to be linked to the originator, and the originator can always be compensated partially from any future sales. And then there's other things, like this could be for like people that like make memes for a living and stuff. This could be a whole other way to monetize the internet without having to do ads and all this stuff that we hate. So like someone who literally makes people laugh and like whatever on social media with like these memes, instead of them having to get paid with like advertisements or like selling products or things like that, like NFTs could theoretically allow them to create their own memes, put it like make it into an NFT, release it into the market, and then as it gets more shares and uses or things like that, it can create a way for them to monetize off of it. And again, these things are going to get way more detailed than this, but all I'm saying is we're entering truly uncharted territories, and between cryptocurrencies and the byproducts of the blockchain, which is now NFTs and other things that are going on, like DeFi is a whole byproduct of cryptocurrencies, decentralized finance, which basically in a nutshell means I have a bunch of cryptocurrencies right now. If I wanted to get a loan, I don't need to go to a bank. I can literally just find someone online. I don't even have to find anyone online. I can just go to one of these DeFi pages. I can stake my crypto holdings as collateral and then get paid out a loan with like an interest rate, I assume, that if I once I pay the loan back, I get my collateral back. I get my cryptos back. No longer do I need to go to a bank and haggle with them to get like an interest rate or things like that. So there are things like this going on. And then, the last thing I want to say about cryptocurrencies, which is why I'm a huge believer in this, is again, I think that most people in the US have a way too US centric of approach to cryptocurrencies. We're like, oh, it's not a stable use of value. Oh, it's not, there's not a lot of use cases. The grocery stores aren't, buying it and things like that. Guys, you got to remember that the rest of the world doesn't even have like modern westernized banking. Like
Right.
they get paid and that money like goes under their mattress. And not only does it go under their mattress, they could wake up the next day and the inflation that hits their currency could completely wipe out half of the value of that. Like, look at what's happening what's happened in Zimbabwe. Look what's happened in Lebanon. Look what's happened in a lot of these countries. Like
30% of the world is unbanked.
30% of the world's unbanked. Now, all you need to do with a smartphone, which guess what? Like almost everyone has smartphones at this point. There are people that live in huts where all they have is a solar panel with a cord and it connects to their smartphone. They don't have running water, they don't have electricity outside like the smartphone, but they have the smartphone. And the smartphone connect with these cryptocurrencies companies, these DeFi companies, all of a sudden allows them to get modern banking, whether it's loans and giving collateral or transmitting payments. Like I just encourage people to think really outside of their daily lives, especially if you're here in the US, and think about how amazing it would be for people to not be beholden to their country's currency while also gaining access to banking and these financial institutions that we think of it as every day, but are truly a luxury to have because of the country we live in. So that's the other thing that just try when you do your own research, if you do it, to have a very global focus about these things, because this is not just for the US or developed countries. Like this, if anything, is going to be a godsend to other countries and their people to allow them to properly store their wealth, get access to banking, and be able to really bring themselves out to the next socioeconomic ladder.
I agree, and I think we're getting close to our goal of time limit. So probably gonna be one of my last thoughts. But I also am. I know I'm pretty extreme with a lot of my thoughts, but I love the aspect of Bitcoin kind of losing our reliance on governments and taxes, and I feel like everyone complains about taxes and says I don't want to pay for a war in Iraq, or I don't want to pay for this or that. I feel like crypto is the beginning of kind of being in control of your money, not having governments waste so much. One really cool aspect is the public ledger that you mentioned, is that you can see where your money went. So I sent money to someone, let's say 6 months ago. For whatever reason, it doesn't really matter. I just checked a couple days ago to see if that person still had the money. Crypto is pseudo-anonymous, so it's not anonymous. You don't know who anyone is. You do know who different wallets are, but you don't know who controls the wallets. But you can access those wallets and see what money's in them, where they paid. So with how much shady stuff happens in government with payments, I think the CIA lost $1 trillion a few years ago. That's not possible with blockchain. You look at the $1 trillion and you literally see where it's dispersed. And I think that accountability and transparency is gonna in itself solve a lot of problems and solve a lot of waste, solve a lot of fraud, solve a lot of spending on violence and things like that. So that's just another kind of play for why I like Bitcoin a lot. But I feel like we definitely have plenty to talk about. So this will definitely be a topic that comes up again. I'd love to hear if you guys ever like were thinking of incorporating crypto into your startup at all, and if that was ever like discussed, why or why not? Because another thing is like a lot of people do like crypto, but then like don't use it so much. And I think that is going to change a bit over the next couple of years. I think people don't really like know enough about it. But I'd like to like definitely hear your input on what you think about that.
We couldn't use it for our startup. We were in Mexico, and it just would have caused a lot of problems. But like, yeah, guys, like, this is something that you don't want to be, 10, 15 years from now, and like your parents not knowing how to work their computer or like something like that. Like, this is something that's going to become increasingly popular. And if you're tired of the government just being able to print money and basically hand it out to whoever they want, and people having this power over you, and then additionally, like, if you're Jeremy in my age, like, you haven't really went through the 1980s with like hyperinflation and things like that. Um, like, we may not think that the government, like, I'm super libertarian, so I don't want the government to control hardly anything. But like, it may not be clear like how much power like the government's like currency has over us, but this is one way to start like tilting the scales more in our favor. If we're not reliant on like the Federal Reserve printing money, if we're able to use our own monetary system, then they need to start being more beholden to us in terms of like collecting taxes and things like that. We can't be doing this frivolous spending and then rely on printing money, because it's going to be meaningless, because more and more people are going to start using alternative digital currencies. So it's not just like, the next wave of innovation. Like, it's also a way to decentralize, so literally to bring in the hands of all of us, the people, the power to control our own money and our own money to supply. So this is, it's part revolution, part innovation technology. But it's like, it doesn't hurt to educate yourself. And yeah, this isn't going anywhere. Like, this is gonna skyrocket over the next few months, and then probably in the fall it'll come crashing down, and a lot of people are going to be like, oh, like, told you it's worthless, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then it's going to do the same thing in 3 years. It's part of the natural cycle that it's going through. But when companies like Tesla are buying $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin, when MicroStrategy has bought almost $2 billion worth of Bitcoin at this point, when you're seeing banks adding it to their financial statements, when you see people like whatever, when you see companies like JP Morgan admitting that the price of Bitcoin may get as high as like $300,000 this upcoming year, like, who are you to not do your own diligence and make up your, like, I'm not saying like make up your own opinion, but like, just don't discount it. Like, don't
Right.
don't like throw this away like it's a like a toy or a fad. Like, just, this is something here to stay.
I would end with saying like I've never regretted buying too much Bitcoin. I've only regretted not buying as much. And then I would also add too. I don't know if you feel the same way, but like I'm involved and invested in definitely other coins, altcoins, Ethereum, and a bunch of others. But Bitcoin, at least for now, is definitely the king. And if you're just gonna die cost average and hold for some time, Bitcoin is definitely the one that I would get in. A lot of people I feel like see like these new ones and they go, oh, like let me get involved. I was there in 2017. Let me buy this one. It's only $8. And like just thinking like, oh, why isn't that the same as Bitcoin? Not related really at all. There's a lot of other things to look into. If you're trying to just get started and you're brand new, I would definitely just start with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then kind of like work your way from there and see what it's up, and as you learn, kind of make other decisions.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, obviously we're not giving you financial advice, but at the same time, like if you do decide that because of this or your own research, like you want to get started, it like as high as the numbers are with Bitcoin, like it's the safest one. So it's like your logic investing wise always needs to be Bitcoin. And then is another coin going to outperform Bitcoin? Like, unless you've really done an extreme amount of diligence, it's going to be really hard for you to figure that out. So don't go crazy. Like, life's crazy enough. Make your life simple. Like, Bitcoin, I'm heavily invested in Ethereum, but like, those are my own two investments. I have friends that like will talk to me about all these other coins, and I do research for them, and some of them are doing some really cool things. And like, I hope that they do become super successful. But it's about opportunity costs. And I just don't believe that like chasing a better return with some other secondary coin is a better investment strategy than like the years of proof we have with Bitcoin and Ethereum at this point. So that's the last thing I'd say to caution everyone is there's thousands of coins out there. Like we can post a link on Coinbase to send you like a referral thing. And like don't don't go crazy. Like if you're going to make a purchase, your first purchase should probably be Bitcoin. And then if you don't do Bitcoin, it should probably be Ethereum. And then if you're not going to do either of those, then you must have done a ton of research to choose something else.
It shouldn't be Dogecoin like Elon Musk created, and a lot of people got rocked on. That was pretty unfortunate.
Yeah, guys, it's the wild, wild west out there. The fundamentals of these coins are completely removed from what their prices are. We're in a true bull market, which means that the prices should continue to go up for some time. We hope at least. We're not telling you to invest, but like, if you know people that day traded starting in March when like the stock market crashed, and not cryptocurrencies, like stock markets, like all those people think that they're geniuses. When it's a bull market, anyone can make money. Okay. So don't get head over heels like, oh, everything's going up, I'm just going to put money here, 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 and here. Be smart. Be like, have a plan, stick to your plan. When the numbers hit your numbers to sell, don't even think, sell. Plan, stick to the plan, sell or buy at those intervals.
Nice. And then I guess I'm going to end with something I learned this week. I think I learned it really more like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but it's related to this, is NFTs. So I'm definitely, we mentioned it before, I'm trying to purchase a few of my first NFTs probably in like the coming week, as well as I want to get some virtual land, which is pretty related to NFTs. But a cool one I heard about was NBA Top Shot. So there's NBA Top Shot is like NBA highlights turned into NFTs. And I believe, just like for a nice quick fact to end the day, there's like a LeBron James first dunk of the year. It's a 5-second clip. I can watch it on YouTube. I can send it to you, watch it on YouTube. But there's one person who has the NFT, so the one of this highlight. I think it sold for $220,000 this week or last week. So pretty cool fact. I don't know much about the NFTs yet and the NBA Top Shot one at all, but that's definitely fascinating that a video clip that's 5 seconds that anyone in the world can watch, someone owns one that just says basically one of one, and that's worth $220,000. Pretty nuts.
Yeah. So I don't have anything to share about what I learned, but I actually own 6 different NBA Top Shots that are top shots. So that's
Were
how
you the $200,000 buyer?
No, I did buy a Chris Paul and a Ben Simmons one. But yeah, guys, NBA Top Shot. It's a if you're a sports enthusiast, it's a really easy way to start getting involved in NFTs to see what it's all about. So yeah, I encourage you to like look into it. They're super hard to get, but there's a marketplace so you can buy individual cards. Getting packs are very difficult to get, but the cards are accessible on marketplace. The last thing I'll leave you with is like you're hearing the $200,000 LeBron James card. You just got to remember, like things are worth what people are willing to spend on them. So like a water bottle may be worth $1, but like if you're in the desert and you haven't seen water in days, that water bottle, like you'll spend $1,000 for it. And
Yep.
that's not like a perfect analogy for like LeBron James card, but like when people start asking you, be like, oh, but it's not actually worth anything. It's just like a video clip, blah, blah, blah. Why is any piece of art worth anything? Like, why is any physical Michael Jordan card worth anything? Why couldn't it be, if it was encoded on the blockchain and made into an NFT? Like, why wouldn't that be worth like something similar? Like, why is a Rembrandt or a painting worth like anything? Like, these things are worth things because people are willing to spend money on them. So, like, there is underlying value to them. Like, it's not like utility. Like, you can like gold has actual utility to it, where like you like they need it on the space station and stuff because of its unique properties. But all I'm saying is, like, if you get to a point where you just can't wrap your mind around the value of it, you just got to remind yourself the value is directly related to what someone's willing to spend on it. And if you still don't feel comfortable, then don't invest, don't buy anything. But in my experience, the easiest way to get involved is small amount. Literally, my first NFT was $9. And I just kept seeing what was happening and what the site was doing and started learning more about the technology. And now I'm here with like a couple cool cards, and my collection's worth like $1,000 or something. And all I'm saying is, like, start small, expose yourself. This is a whole new frontier. Don't worry about jumping in with a $200,000 card. Actually, I'd recommend not doing that. That's the only financial advice I give. Do that. But yeah, go online. NBA, Top Shot. It's super easy. It's cool. It's super beta, and they keep advertising how beta is because of how often it crashes. But yeah, I'm just gonna echo that like that is a version of an NFT if you're curious to looking into it.
Yeah, and I believe they're partnered with the NBA, so like there's definitely like it's legit. It's not just someone making some things up.
Yeah.
Um, well, dope. That was an awesome conversation. I learned a lot. I'm excited about buying more NFTs. I'm kind of excited that you have some. That's definitely just more assurance that I'm doing the right thing by purchasing some as well. Please, if you guys see this, if you're on YouTube, please comment what you would want to hear us talk about more. I definitely think not next week, but maybe in a month or two, we'll definitely talk about crypto again, maybe not for a whole episode, but even a little bit. If you have any specific questions, would love to hear them, hear what they are, so we can make sure that we talk about them. That's all I got to say. You got anything, Jack?
No, thanks for staying tuned, guys. Do us a favor, hit the like button, smash the subscribe button if you got any enjoyment out of this. And yeah, like, guys, we're winging this. So give us write in the comments what you want us to hear, what you don't want us to talk about again. And if there's anything that like we can explain more. We're just two guys talking about things that like are interesting to us and trying to tell as many stories as possible. But let us know what you want to hear.
Love it. Sounds good. Have a good one, Jack. I will see you later in the week. Peace, brother.
See you guys.